Welcome to the Schmoeville podcast. My name is Ryan Snelling. I'm so glad you're here to talk about Collider, to talk about Schmoes Know. With myself and my guest, I have Noah Outlaw. Hello, my good friend.
Hey, what's going on, man? It's good to be back.
You are the 17-year-old wonder that has appeared on the Schmoeville podcast before, and this is the second time that you've been here, correct?
Yeah, it's the second time, and it's fun every time, and thank you. I'm going to put the 17-year-old wonder on my resume. No.
Good. I'm glad. It'll get you very far in life. Well, at least for a year anyway. It'll get you far.
Yeah, until I turn 18.
Exactly. So I'm glad you're back. I know we tried to get you on the past couple of weeks. We just got done with this series of episodes that I did. First with Brian Fernandez, then Michael K., and then my good friend Jay Williams, where we sort of broke it down and kind of brainstormed on air about things that we think Collider and Schmoes can improve on, things that we can do as fans to help their channels grow, all kinds of things. And I feel like we did a great job with those episodes. I'm particularly happy with the one with Jay, only because, I was kind of afraid for him. Him being a friend and him being an outsider, I didn't want... I feel very positive about this fan community, but I was hoping that everyone was on their best behavior to not turn Jay away from, because I feel like he just kind of put himself out there by coming on the podcast, and I was very proud of him, and I was proud of Schmoeville, and I feel like there were a lot of interesting engagements on YouTube. Overall, the positivity was there, so I appreciate you guys who were talking to us, and I appreciate the conversation that hopefully we've been driving between fans and the people behind the desks over there in Burbank as far as how we can get these channels to grow. So huge thank you. I might do another set of those again down the line. But I feel like they were kind of relevant because we had a special announcement today on Movie Talk in particular, and like I said, I tried to get you on for one of those episodes that we had done the past couple of weeks, but I at least want to talk to you about how you feel about this announcement that Collider is now a Roku Apple TV app.
Yeah, man, it's really cool in any way that we can, like you've been talking about with Brian and all the other guests you've had on the last couple of weeks, is however we can get Collider and /Schmoes out to the more people, the better, you know what I mean? And, with Roku and Apple TV, with Collider being on those two apps is going to be a great way to get the word out about these fantastic shows. Because I almost feel bad for the people who don't get to experience these shows that we love every week, you know what I mean? I mean, it's the point where, at least for me, like, it's just part of my daily life. Like, I can't, if I go one day without watching anything from Collider or Schmoes, like, I start shaking, you know what I mean? It's just, that's just how it is. So maybe you start to have withdrawal. Exactly. So maybe it's a good thing for people not to get into it, but at least, but it's just, it's a great way to get people to start watching the shows and even get into movies and other stuff like that. Yeah,
I'm very curious what this is gonna do for the average fan who watches movies every now and then. They've got their Apple TV, they've got their Roku set. I mean, even my mom has a Roku set. So I'm very curious to see who's gonna stumble across these guys, and I don't know how exactly that works as far as having those like a Screen Junkies Plus. Like, I don't know how those apps figure into like views. Like, I guess I just want to know how to gauge it and compare it to like YouTube, because I don't see how it carries over. So it's kind of like its own separate thing from what I understand. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to unfold. I'm extremely proud, and also I think it's funny that the announcement was so like underwhelming. Like, I heard it on Movie Talk. Did you hear it on Movie Talk today, or did you catch it like on the Schmoeville fan page?
I got it on I think I saw it on Twitter, and then shortly after that I saw it on the Schmoeville fan page. But the second I saw it, I was like, "This is insane! That's awesome!" And but it was also like a thing was like, yeah, finally, you know what I mean? Because finally they're getting to be a little bit mainstream, you know what I mean? And we're not there yet, but we're getting close, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I thought since you missed the announcement, they talked about it on Movie Talk today, and it was just the most like, hey, by the way, this happened. Okay, what's the first topic? It was the most glossed over announcement. I was like, wait a minute, let's hear more about this.
Yeah, we need to talk about this a little more. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that makes
so. But yeah, like I said, I'm very curious. I'm very happy that they've gotten to this point, and I'm really excited, and I can't wait to see what's in store.
Yeah, me too.
Sort of on the same topic, as far as I follow you on Twitter, but do you usually share like the Schmoes Know Show? Do you share any of their shows or reviews by chance?
It depends. Usually most of the what I usually do is I'll just like retweet. Like so if Christian or someone or tweets out the link to the live show or to Collider Jedi Council, something like that, I'll go ahead and retweet it because especially for Jedi Council, because a lot of the people who follow me are Star Wars fans, because I'm in like the Star Wars community is basically what my Twitter is mainly. Collider Jedi Council a lot, and then but also the Schmoes the live show tweets, I'll retweet, and every now and then I'll be like, yo, check out this review from the Schmoes. Make sure you subscribe because they're awesome and they love Star Wars, and I'll tweet something like that every now and then. So but yeah, usually it's only like retweets whenever Christian or the one of the accounts tweets out the show links.
Right. I just wanted to bring this up because I tweeted out the show today, and I do every now and then. I could probably do better at it for sure, but I posted it on Facebook today. Like half an hour before the show went up, I put the Schmoes Know Show is going live at 10. They're previewing Suicide Squad and much more. Posted the link, and I've got almost 600 friends on Facebook, mostly people from where I live in Kentucky. One person liked that status, and do you want to know who it is?
Who's that?
Yourself.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, that's right. That's funny.
Unfortunately, the people that I am, my audience, are either people that already know that they don't give a shit about this.
Yeah.
Or they're people that, know me from Schmoeville or Film Beef, and they already know what this is. So unfortunately, my audience is not the best.
Yeah. But if I wanted to go on Facebook and tweet out the live link, I would figure that at least probably 75% of my Facebook friends are like my aunts that are 60 plus years old, and they're just like, what is a Schmoes? What does a Schmoes know? You know what I mean? So, usually I stay away from Facebook. So if I do tweet out a link, or it's usually on Twitter or on the, I've been trying to get more involved with sharing links and stuff on the Schmoeville Instagram page, which is really where I should be doing that the most, because that's full of Schmoevillians. But so it'll either be there or like for Twitter with me, and that's usually I stay away from Facebook.
Right. Since you're on this podcast, this is your second time, I hope that you feel a sense of responsibility to become a better advocate, and I'll challenge you, and I'll also challenge myself, and I'll challenge our listeners to start sharing more, and just start talking about it. Start creating the conversation and start growing these channels, because ultimately it's up to us to really help these guys out. And I do this podcast, so I feel kind of bad that I'm not a better advocate, but it's like my audience is just so limited. And I was thinking about this the other day where, and I might have even talked about it on here before, but everyone that I know doesn't even know that I really do the Schmoeville podcast. Like, I wear my Schmoes Know t-shirts, but they don't know that I do the podcast. Yeah. And they ask me why, because they only know that I do Film Beef. And it's like, well, Schmoeville to me is not the thing to plug. Like, you don't promote Talking Dead, you promote Walking Dead. So
right.
So when I kind of came up with that idea, I realized that I need to do a better job representing the Schmoes Know Show. So I challenge everyone out there to just start sharing. One of the best things that you could possibly share, one of the most fun things that they do, is the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. And I want to talk about this. So I have since forgotten last week's match. So I had to come up.
I think it was Sam Levine and Clark Wolf,
Clark
right?
Wolf, yes. And how could I
Yeah,
forget that? My goodness. I
yeah,
am
that was a good one.
I am such a loser, such a loser. I don't even remember who I picked. I'll be honest. I have no idea who I picked.
I think I picked Sam Levine, which because Sam Levine is just an encyclopedia for movie
No,
trivia. It's
I tr-
crazy.
Jay and I talked about so much last week, and I feel like the Schmoedown was something we glossed over because he couldn't touch on it as much, at least for the Wolf and Sam Levine match. Jay said a lot of confusing things, by the way. I love, I love reading the comment section because people were just like, "Wait a minute, what's this guy saying?" Some of it was even hard for me to understand, but I think I've got it now. But anyway, yeah, I think I went with Clark Wolf because I said I was Team Schmoes
Yeah.
over. I might be wrong completely, but anyway, so what I love about Clark Wolf is the utter shock that she was in when she won that match.
Yeah.
Like, and we know that she's like anxious doing these things, and it's so funny because we're talking about movie trivia. Like it's not something we should take serious, but we do it anyway because we love it, and she obviously loves it. So
Yeah.
I just think that says a lot about how involved she is in this community, how involved she is at Collider, and she takes this very seriously, seriously enough to almost
Yeah.
have panic attacks, serious enough to sweat it out when going up against Sam Levine. I could not be happier, regardless of if I picked her last week or not. I could not be happier that she won this match and is on her way to the title against Dan Murrell. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to say about that match?
Well, I mean, you talked about Clark's reaction, how she was so shocked that she actually beat Sam Levine. I think I had the same exact reaction. I was sitting here watching that, and I mean, Sam Levine, like I was just said, like he's an encyclopedia when it comes, especially oh man, what was that game? There's I think it's called The Game. I'm pretty sure.
I'm
But
surprised you know what an encyclopedia is at your age.
no, but
He's like a human Google, is what I expected you to say.
yeah, man, he's a human being, man. But no, but serious, like
What?
who uses Bing anyways? But Sam Levine was just so
I don't
good,
know
and
what
I've
the hell you
been
were saying.
watching him. I've been watching him for so long, and ever since I started watching the Schmoes, he's been on a few times. And when Clark Wolf, I knew Clark Wolf had knew her stuff, but and honestly, I think that was Sam Levine's match to lose because he just really, I think he got screwed over when it came to the wheel. Man, that wheel is horrible. It can be the death of you. It could be the best thing ever, and I think the wheel really is what destroyed Sam Levine in that match. But just, hey, I love Clark Wolf. She's the best, and I'm so happy for her to be in the championship. But Dan Murrell is not going to let Clark Wolf beat him. It's not going to happen.
Oh, really? You're already
No.
saying that there's no chance that she can beat Dan, huh?
No way.
How do you
No
feel about the fact? I do want to talk about the rest of this month because it's pretty incredible when it comes to the Schmoedown. Because I
Yeah.
was actually given before this one, I was given the previous two matches sort of a hard time. The Nost and Dewberry, and then the Schnepp and Kale Anonymous. I was kind of giving those matches a hard time because I didn't think they were that great. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about the rest of this month. So tomorrow is a highly anticipated match for me. Not only because you have the Godfather of the Schmoes competing, but you also have Jason Inman, who I was a fan of. I'm a huge fan of Geek History Lesson, and I really like Jason Inman, and I was very, very surprised at how well he did in the Schmoedown. He instantly became a contender. So tomorrow's match is awesome. I'm also very excited to see how they play up this classy gentleman angle.
Yeah.
And I know by the time this podcast probably comes out to air, I'm sure the match will have already been put up. But just to speak on that real quick, what are your thoughts on that match going into tomorrow?
Man, I mean, I love Jason Inman. He's really funny. He's in DC All Access with Tiffany as well. And and every time I say this, the last couple times, Christian, if you're listening, man, I'm always like, man, no way Christian loses. And every time I say this, Christian loses. But this time I'm serious. No way Christian loses tomorrow. There's no way.
Really?
It's not gonna happen. I mean, Jason Inman's like you said, like the first time he was on, he was great. But Christian, he's out for blood. He's tired of taking these L's, and he needs a win. Because I think if I could be wrong, but if he doesn't win tomorrow, I mean he's really out of it. Like no chance for him. So he better, if you want the Outlaws' respect, Christian, you better win. Which he probably don't even care. But no, seriously, like no, Christian is gonna win tomorrow. I'm putting my money on it.
Well, my decision is it's hard because based on what he said tonight, it kind of changed everything. He said that if he loses tomorrow, he's going to basically reconsider being in the singles matches completely. And that really threw me off. And he was explaining it. I guess he just keeps losing, and that's fine. But
right.
I don't know. I want Christian to win, but also I wouldn't be upset if Jason won. Like I feel like he deserves it. But I'd be fine with Jason winning. But again, if it means that Christian doesn't compete anymore, that's not what I want, because he's one of the players, one of the contestants that shit talks. He's the one that plays up the entrances and gets into it, and that's what I love about the Schmoedown. And to have the Schmo sit out, just it wouldn't be the same. So if it means keeping Christian alive in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, then I have to go with Christian, and I have to root against Jason because there's not really a way. But I don't know. Maybe Christian's just whining, and he'll get over a loss, and we'll continue to compete. So I don't know. It's hard. I hate that he threw that out there today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, Christian's my favorite crewman, like member of the whole crew. He's
is he really?
Favorite. Yeah, he's my favorite Schmo. He's the best. And maybe it's just because we have this Star Wars kinship, I should say. But I just, like you said, it would suck to see him not compete. And so that's another reason why I just got to put it out into the universe. Like, yo, let Christian win.
Is there anything you want to say? Is there anything you want to say to Christian, knowing that he's listening right now?
Christian, buddy. First off, let's just try to respond to some of my DMs, because you just leave me unread every time. And
are you bothering him? Maybe you're bothering him.
That's what I feel like. I'm bothering him. I don't know, but the Harloff is busy, man. Harloff Minor, it takes a lot to keep that place up and running, so I don't blame him. But just come on, man. Just take this W so you can be in the rest of the singles, the tournaments, and everything. And then we got the teams, and you and Ellis are gonna wreck shop. So, you got a bunch of W's coming your way, dude.
So, Christian, you heard it from Noah. Please don't leave us. We love you.
Please don't.
I'm curious. What do you DM Christian about?
Oh man, everything. I'll either ask.
That's your problem. That's your problem. You gotta leave him alone.
I'll get a question that's not even related to him at all. Like I don't even know. Like, should I get 2% or whole milk, Christian? Like, you know what I mean? Like when I'm at the store.
No.
No. I'm totally kidding. I've never asked him that, but no, I'll just ask him stuff like, yo, when's this review coming up? Well, what do you think about this new piece of Star Wars news? And then I'm like, oh man, I get, and he doesn't respond. So I have to wait till Thursday to hear what he thinks about it. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say,
you should have.
Why don't you just wait, knowing like there's no way he can answer everyone that asks him this question.
I've been a Schmoevillian for so long, I shouldn't have to wait. I should just be like, yo, Christian, let me know what's up. And then he should be like, oh yeah, dude, totally. Like, this is totally what I mean. This is who won the Schmoedown this week. You know what I mean? No, I don't expect him to tell me that, but I don't know. And you should have saw our DMs like the night, the night he was at the Force Awakens premiere. Dude, I was asking him so much stuff. And the thing, what happens is I ask him something, like it'll be late, and I'm like just asking him questions, and the next day I'm like, why did I send all that? Wait, like, what am I doing? I'm like that creepy fan, and then I was like, I need to chill. Or later that day, I'm like, oh, Christian, what's up? You know what I mean? That's what he got for following me a year ago, I guess now, or a year and a half ago. So
Noah, you're a lunatic.
I'm insane, man. What's that? What's that movie? That old Clint Eastwood movie, where it's like, I think it's called. God, I think it's something. It's about like this radio host who gets this caller every night, and then she starts like stalking him or something. I
Not
sound so creepy right now. I'm sorry.
not important, but that's okay. We love you anyways.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm creeping you out, Christian. I'm not trying to.
No, I don't think it's. I don't know. I think I don't know what the hell you all talk about, but maybe you should lay off, because if he answered all of your questions, then he wouldn't have any reason to do what he does. So
That's true. That's true. Hey,
but it's funny because
okay,
me and
don't worry.
Christian and I are pretty much strictly business for the most part, and he has a hard time getting back to me. So I don't think it's a Noah thing. I think it's Christian being very busy. But
yeah, like I said, Harloff Minor, he's running
right.
everything up there. I mean, it's named after him. So he's like Lando. He runs Cloud City. You can't take a day off and respond to Noah Outlaw's DMs about whole milk. You know what I mean?
Speaking of Bespin, we've got
Oh.
Roka versus Mance 2, August 12th.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're going nuts over this, because not only is this one of the greatest matchups, but you're a big Roka fan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just glowing. And again, this basically I could just sum up my thoughts on August. It's awesome. It's just an awesome month for Schmoedowns, and I know that we crossed out Finstock, and it's Makuga going up against JTE on August 19th. And just to kind of in the note here, Roka and Mance, JTE, and Makuga, and the title match at the end of the month with Merle and Wolf. What are your highlights? What are you looking forward to? Who do you think's going to win in all those?
Man, I'm thinking that we'll get Roka and Mance. Roka's going to win. And then I think we'll just, hopefully, this is what I would love. I want Roka to win, and then we'll have like Roka and Mance 3, and it's like the championship in that little 1, 2, and 3.
So you just want them to keep it going. You don't want to see either of those two go against anybody else, just themselves.
Dude, you know what? Right now, especially if Roka wins. If Roka wins, there has to be a third one, and see who wins that one to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. I'd
And
like
then
that.
when it comes to, who is it? JT and did you say Makuga?
JTE and Makuga, yeah.
JT and Makuga, man.
That was announced tonight, and Sasha apparently is going with Makuga. I thought that was interesting because, I'm in that group of people that, I appreciate Makuga. I love Makuga, but I never really considered him a contender. But they made up the point. I mean, they brought out the facts, and I can't argue with the facts that Makuga has shown up at every match and done well for himself. Almost had a title shot against Riley. So, I don't know. I think people underestimate him, and we'll see what happens. But
well, I mean, this is the thing about JT and Finstock or Makuga. JT knows his stuff, and Makuga knows most of his stuff. But the difference between this time and then whenever he showed up, back in phase 5, there's no one gonna be there to whisper Broderick, to Makuga, so he's not gonna be able to beat JTE. So it's just straight up. JTE was coming. He's coming to win. Makuga's just gonna show up to have the Makuga attitude. You know what I mean? I love Makuga. He's probably if he's listening to this, he's probably like this asshole. But no. JT is gonna win that match, but Makuga will show up, and he'll do pretty good for himself, I think.
are you DMing Makuga? Why would he think you're an asshole?
No, from what I just said, I'm bringing up the Broderick thing. I'm not though. But the thing is, what I like about this show is, I don't feel the need to censor what I say at all through
What are you
whatever.
talking about? This show, my show.
No, yeah, totally. This show, and because
that's
we
sweet.
get to speak our minds, you know what I mean. We get to speak our minds when we come on the show. And I remember last time I was on, we were talking about how I DM Makuga about why he didn't talk about Bates Motel, and then I was like, why don't you? And I DM'd him, was like, why don't you talk about Bates Motel? And his response was like, almost sounded like he probably wasn't, but it almost sounded like he was pissed that I even asked. He was like, because I've never watched the show. Why, you got a problem or something weird like that? I was like, Whoa there. Whoa, Makuga. I'm sorry. Maybe he's had a bad history with Norman Bates or something. I don't know, man.
Poor Makuga. You probably caught him on a bad day. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Makuga's
that doesn't
the best.
sound like the Makuga
No, definitely not.
that I watched. But
Yeah, no,
but anyway, that's
Makuga's the
funny.
best.
And do you have anything to say about the? Oh, you already spoke. You said that Dan. There's no way that Wolf beats Merle.
I
right?
mean, yeah, I'll talk about it a little. Like, Clark Wolf is great. She's really good. She knows her stuff. Dan is, you know how I said Sam Levine is an encyclopedia of movie trivia. Dan Murrell wrote the encyclopedia. Dan
Yeah.
is so smart when it comes to this stuff. He is going to. It's going to be a good match. I'll tell you that. Like, I'm predicting like I predict the future. Like, I'll tell you this. This is what's going to happen. But no, but Dan will. He's not going to destroy her, but he definitely will win. But Clark is going to show up and she'll hold her own against Dan. But like I said, no way that Clark wins.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to hold out my predictions. I'm going to give it a little bit more time, and of course, I do this podcast, so I'll be able to talk about it the next couple weeks.
It's on the 24th, right? That's when it is.
The 26th is that Schmoedown.
26th.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, with all that being said, what a great month of Schmoedowns to look forward to. I'm also excited for September. And they had that cool graphic for the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament or whatever, leading up to Schmoedown Spectacular. All that stuff is gonna be great. A lot of stuff to look forward to wrap up 2016. And we're coming up to this is the end of the summer, and this is Schmoes Know Show number 244, a Suicide Squad preview. What'd you think of Suicide Squad, by the way?
Yeah, I was actually just about to say this.
I'm just kidding. We don't talk about movies. So,
No. I'm not going to talk about Suicide Squad, but I do want to say this real quick. I do. Thank you for that. I was really about to just get into Suicide Squad, but
I just wanted to give you a hard time.
But what I was about to say is I tweeted this out, and you might have saw this, but let's see, because my time where I am, the Schmoes show doesn't start till 9, and there was a showing for Suicide Squad at 6 at my theater that I go to. So I was like, I'm going to go to see Suicide Squad at 6, get home right on time for the Schmoes show, and then come home, and then I'm going to do the Schmoeville podcast afterwards. And if that is not a Schmoes Know / movie fan, I don't know what is. I just killed it tonight. Like, I'm not even going to, I'm going to brag about myself. Because, man, I killed it.
What a great fan you are.
Oh, yeah. So I could keep up with the conversation on the show because I knew it was going to be a Suicide Squad preview. So I was like, of course I have to watch Suicide Squad.
Exactly. With that, well, I want to talk about that here in just a second. So I mentioned this is called Suicide Squad preview, number 244. By the way, we're coming up on number 250. I mean, that's crazy. I don't know. Hopefully, Christian will kind of let some stuff out. Hopefully, they've got some cool, interesting stuff planned. Maybe not like huge stuff, but something specific to episode 250, because I think that's a really fun mark to hit for sure. The start of the show.
After hour show 3 for 250.
I doubt that'll happen, but
yeah, I don't think that'll happen either. Probably shouldn't even talk about that because that's like a cursed thing in Schmoeville, I guess.
The first thing I want to talk about in this show is the fact that there was no Christian at the desk and how weird the opening 10 minutes felt. Actually, it was the opening 30 minutes before the first break where Christian wasn't there. Yeah. And not to knock Mark at all, because I actually think Mark is the better host when it comes to movie talk and stuff. But it was just the first part of it felt extremely rushed. And I was kind of like, is Christian coming back?
Yeah.
I felt like the show was already almost over because they got to Sasha's indie picks real quick. And did you feel weird not having Christian there?
Yeah, so like I said earlier in the show, Christian's my favorite Schmo on the crew. He's the best. And I remember I just it was right on time. It was kind of weird. I finished watching the Schmoes Know Suicide Squad spoiler review, and then right when that ended, it was 9 o'clock. So I turned on the show, and then right when I turned it on, Mark was like, "Hello, Schmoeville." When he went on to this thing, and they went to the wide shot, and then I was like. And I noticed Christian wasn't there, and I said, I out loud, I went, "Where the hell is Christian?" In my room, I was like, And then they said like, "Oh, Christian's on the phone or whatever. He's having an important conversation." I was like, "Oh, thank God," because I mean, it's not like you said, like nothing against Mark or Sasha or anyone at the table, but it's just like the show feels weird without Christian there. It just feels weird, and even it's to the point where sometimes this sounds horrible, but sometimes I'm like I kind of tune out. Like not that I don't like the show whenever Christian's on, but it's like Christian is there, and I like him and everyone else's personality works so perfectly together that it just feels off, and then it's kind of hard to keep me glued to the show when Christian's not there. And you know, and I know it probably sounds awful, but I don't mean it in the bad way. I mean it in the best way. But it's just Christian because the crew is so perfectly put together, and there's this chemistry that I love, and it just feels it gets a little disrupted when Christian isn't in a seat, you know.
Well, the thing about that is it's Christian's not gone ever. Like he was absent in one of the pre-tape shows right before Comic-Con. I thought it was different, but I didn't think it was a big deal. I actually love that format of the Schmoes Know Show, by the way. I've been very vocal about that. But I don't mean in general that I hate Christian being gone. I mean, I understand he's not going to be there all the time. That's not the issue. I just thought this specifically was really weird, and it just didn't feel like the same show. So I don't know what it was. It just felt like we got to so much. And it was also just because it wasn't just Christian that was gone. This was like the skeleton crew. I thought that Copster
was alone at the wingers table. That was weird.
And there was no Miri, no Brett for you know, in a long time. I feel like Brett's been there consistently. I don't remember the last time he was out, but yeah, it just felt like the skeleton crew. And Miri, we hope you get better. I know you're sick, but yeah, that's probably what felt. That's why it was probably very weird at the beginning. By the way, I want to see the footage of Makuga watching The Conjuring, and I've talked about this before. Like, they make fun of Makuga for being a scaredy cat. I've never thought that was funny or interesting. I don't know. I just don't get why everyone loves it so much.
I mean, I don't know. Have you gone back and watched the first time the writers of The Conjuring were in studio?
Christian told me to watch it, and
it's great. I love it.
He gave me shit on air because I was just like, I don't really see the big deal. I still don't.
I love it. I remember I watched that because that was phase 3. Yeah, pretty sure phase 3. And I wasn't watching in phase 3 yet. And so I remember I went back after, you know, once I got into Schmoes, and I went back and watched the classic episodes. And I remember watching that, and I was dying laughing just seeing seeing Josh act that way, seeing Makuga act that way. And also, I really thought the interview was great too, with the writers and all the stuff they went through. Like, it was creepy, and I love it. And when they came back on, it was amazing.
No, I agree that the interviews were great. I love the interviews, but as someone who doesn't believe in ghosts, someone who doesn't like horror movies, someone who doesn't get scared easily, I just didn't think it was. I don't think it's funny when people. It's not even just a Makuga thing. I don't think it's funny when people get scared because I don't understand why they're getting scared. So, when I hear them tell a scary story on air, like, it's interesting, but I'm never like creeped out, or I never can't sleep at night. And so I guess it's just kind of like me shrugging my shoulders, like, I don't really care. I don't think this is funny. But I am curious to see what the footage is. Maybe maybe it'll be funny and I'll get a good laugh.
Yeah.
But and Sasha was back, by the way. That was good. We missed her last week for sure. I wanted Jay to see her because I really like Sasha.
Sasha's cool.
And you know, I want to talk about Finstock for a second because I say I miss Finstock, and I'm not talking about Tom. Like, Tom has been missing from the show for several weeks, but more importantly, Finstock has been missing. And, you know, the characters are starting to kind of blend. It's a little more gray than it used to be. Yeah. But I want to see the mask back out. I want to see him make a ton of inappropriate comments while everyone's talking. And no one's paying any attention to him, but I love it. And I'm just curious, do you like this new direction that Tom is taking, or do you want Finstock to make a comeback?
You know, I kind of like the gray area. the Tom
Really?
slash Finstock. I do enjoy it, but but it was great, back in the day when it was just Finstock or Tom, like, and Finstock was hilarious. But the thing is I don't think, I could totally be wrong, but I just feel like the Finstock thing, with the inappropriate jokes and all that stuff, I feel like the crew and even the fan base, I think it just they all got kind of tired of it. So that's why I think, that's just my personal opinion, and I did too, because it was the same thing every week. Hey Tiffany, I like your clavicles. I mean, it's the same thing every week, and and that was an amazing Finstock impression, by the way. But
all you have to do is talk quietly. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. Hey, Tiffany, I really love your clavicles. No, but it was just it kind of got to the point where it was just like, all right, can we at least make up something else? But I also used to love the game they did with where the Finstock would tell a story, and then they'd have to guess which part is true and which part isn't, and it was that was a lot of fun. I do wish they would do that a lot more, because that kills me every time. Like my favorite one was the one with Mance, and where he was telling Mance a story, and he was like, whenever he went to Harrison Ford's house, and he has to use the restroom, and he got locked inside, and he was like, hey Harrison, how do I get out of the restroom? He's like, oh, you got to push the falcon on the side of the door, and it opens it up. Obviously it was a lie, but I was dying when I saw that for the first time. I couldn't stop laughing.
Do you think I just love it more because I'm newer to this than a lot of people? Like, I don't know. Is it because I haven't gotten enough Finstock? I haven't gotten the right amount that everyone else has gotten, or the people that you're speaking to that you think are tired of it?
I don't know if it's because you're newer, but it's just that could be it. But I mean, I don't know, man. That's a good question. It's just, for me, I just like, and it's not even that I'm like tired of Finstock as much. It's just like, I do like having Tom there, because Tom is really cool. He's a really cool guy who, and he's funny. And then when Finstock comes in, it's funny, but I also really love Tom being there. And
how do you know he's cool? How do you know he's cool? Because
wait, who, Tom?
They're both enigmas in their own right. Like, I don't dislike them.
I feel like Tom. I feel like
I don't
Tom
know
is
who the
more
hell
of
that guy is.
Well, I feel like Tom's more of a regular guy. You know what I mean? And Finstock is.
I just don't get how you can gauge that.
Creepy. I don't know. I see what you're saying, but it's like, I don't know. He's just a dude. Like, he doesn't. What I think of Tom. The reason I say he's more of a normal guy is because when it's not Finstock and it's just Tom Dagnino. He doesn't comment on Tiffany's clavicles, or anything about anybody. He comments on discussion. Old Finstock, or Finstock really even now, whenever he shows up, he never really got into the conversation. It was like they went to him, he'd be like, poof, and then he'd say something stupid about one of the girls on the panel or on the show.
It's kind of like how Brett Sheridan is now, except not a womanizer.
Yeah, dude, I love Brett. Man, Brett is honestly one of my favorite. He's probably in my top 3 favorite crew members.
Everybody's your favorite. Everybody's your favorite.
No, I'll say my top. You know what? I'll say my top 3 favorite right now.
Say your bottom. Say your bottom 3.
My bottom 3. I don't know if I should do that. I'll say my top 3 though. Favorite's Christian. Second favorite is Mark Riley. And then third, that sounded awful. I'm sorry, Ellis. Like, no, I love you, man. No, I was like Mark. Oh, Riley, not that Ellis guy, but no, Mark Riley. And then who do we just say?
You don't even know what the hell you're talking
about.
No,
I know. the name, like, his name is blanking me right now. I can't think.
Brett Sheridan.
This is okay. Brett Sheridan. I wanted to say Brian. Why did I want to say Brian? Oh my God!
There's no Brian's.
Number 3 is Brett.
Brian.
We have Brian Fernandez in Schmoeville, so that's cool.
I do want to talk about. I want to know what Finstock does for a living. By the way, I have no. I've realized tonight, and this, I feel like I'm late to the party asking this question. Hopefully, some of you out there know what he actually does for a living. I know what Christian does for a living. I know what Mark does for a living, but I have no clue what he does, and I don't know. So I think I know what is a lie when he speaks. Particularly about some of the stuff that he said tonight, or the music video with Drake, the infamous story from earlier in Phase 6.
Yeah.
I don't know what to gauge it, which is actually factual, because he's so straight faced all the time.
I don't know, because I'm whenever I was hanging out with Ellis at Dave and Buster's that one night, when he was in Houston, one of the other guys there, wasn't me, asked, so what does Finstock do for a living? And Ellis, it seemed like he was very vague, because I don't know if maybe Finstock just doesn't want people to know, or just, I don't really know, but Ellis was like, oh, I think he works for like a studio. And then that's all that was said. So I was like, it's pretty vague, but it would maybe explain why he works. Maybe he was on a boat with Drake. Maybe his studio was just helping out with the shoot. I don't know. But I do believe the Drake thing.
It's possible that he could work. It's possible that he could work for studio, and he just doesn't want people to have a certain impression of him. Because imagine if like it came out that Finstock worked for Marvel, like it would people would go nuts. So maybe that's just not something.
The people who think that Collider and the Schmoes are on the Marvel payroll would be like, I told you they were.
Let's talk about Ellis for a second though, because
Ellis.
I loved the passion out of him tonight. He got a little frustrated, a little angry about a few things, and I just really, really enjoyed it. Because, Christian's the one that kind of gets torn up about things more so than Ellis, so I always love when something sets him off. Particularly, this isn't so much about him getting frustrated. That'll come in the next couple things I want to talk about, but I loved what he said about basically how people view movies before they see them in theaters. There's sort of like three ways to view them, and I never had really thought of it this way. So I'm gonna steal that, Ellis. I'm gonna use that, and I think I enjoy hearing him say that, because it's reminding us that we as fans need to think critically about what we're talking about. And it's funny because he doesn't consider himself a critic, but he is a critic. And it's interesting that he is telling people, hey, yes, I understand you trust me, you trust my opinions on films, but that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy something that I don't. And he actually cares that we think critically and actually decide for ourselves whether we like something or not. And I loved what he said about the fact that there's like three different feelings going into a movie. Also loved how he got frustrated with Jared Leto a little bit about how ridiculous Jared Leto seems to be as an actor. And it's funny because I used to be in a band, and I used to be a huge music fan. I'm not so much anymore, but I was a huge Jared Leto fan because of 30 Seconds to Mars. That's what I found first. And then I slowly discovered that he was an actor and in more movies. And saw him in Dallas Buyers Club, thought he was fantastic.
Oh, he's so good in the movie. Man.
Yeah. And But my opinion on Jared Leto is slowly changing, and I won't talk about it here, but I'll talk about it on Film Beef this weekend when we review Suicide Squad. But
for the better or for the worse?
Do what?
Wait, is it changing for the better or for the worse?
For the worse, without a doubt. So I thought it was interesting that I loved Ellis getting frustrated that he just act. Like, when did it become not just acting? It's like it got more complicated, and I thought it was funny that he was actually speaking out, because it's probably hard for them. It's probably hard for them to talk shit about people. Like, people like Sasha can come in to the Schmoes Know Show and talk about her bad experiences with people, but Christian and Mark probably don't want to do that because they have no idea down the road who they might be interviewing or who they might be working for. So it's probably hard for them, and I don't blame them at all. But again, I just liked that he got that in there. I thought that was really interesting and honest.
Yeah, and whenever when we start having conversations like this, it makes me so mad that we can't like talk about it that more. I mean, I'll just say like I love Jared Leto, and I love how he what he brings to the table, and with what he does, and just I like what he did and all this stuff about what he did with the Joker. It's fun, you know. It's fun. It's just fun stuff that we like reading on the on collider.com, you know, when stuff like that comes out. It's just fun stuff. And if that helps, and that might help him, you know, do what he wants to do on screen, and if it does, let's just let him do it, and hopefully it works out for the better so we get a good performance. But we can't talk about that, so let's move on.
What do you think about Ellis? Well, Ellis sort of continued his thinking critically theme with talking about how people need to think about the comments that you put out there. And
Oh yeah.
I really appreciated this because I'm 25 years old, but I am guilty in my past, and even recently. Sometimes I get a little passionate. Sometimes I put something out there that I just don't think about, or I think I'm being funny and I intend it to be a joke. But you know, he really made me think, and hopefully he made you think, and hopefully he made everybody think about how they act when they're on the internet, and how they act when their name is attached to something that can go out to somebody. It doesn't even have to be a famous person. The fact that you can reach anybody across the country on Twitter, I think it is very important, and hopefully they continue to sort of preach on this a little bit. And it doesn't always have to pertain to them. Like, hey, don't post mean comments to us, because think about it, like in general as a topic, as a discussion. I mean, they briefly touched on the stuff with Leslie Jones, and I just think it's important they talk about fan etiquette. Again, not centered around the schmoes, centered around film and TV, etc. So I want more of that. I wouldn't mind Schmoes Know taking a second to have those serious conversations.
Yeah, and whenever I'm on Twitter, because I'm very, you know, as you know, like I'm very, look what I'm doing right now. I'm very active in the Schmoeville community, and I try to be. And what I always think about is when I sit down, it doesn't even matter if it's to anybody in Schmoeville. It's if it's just a tweet that anybody can see. I like to sit there and be like, what goes through my mind is if I ever met anyone from Schmoeville, let's say, you know, if we're, you know, at Comic-Con or something like that, and I'm at the meetup, and you see these people who tweet back, man, you know, something negative or in a disrespectful way to anyone in Schmoeville, you know, you don't want to be that guy at the meetup who's like, oh yeah, you're the guy who said this. What was that about, man? Come on. And, you know, and people, you want to be respected in Schmoeville and on the internet in general. And you don't want to be the guy who's behind his keyboard talking crap. And so whenever I sit down to, you know, send a tweet or anything, I want to say, if I went up to Christian or Mark or anybody and showed them this tweet, would they be like, would it piss them off, or would it do anything like that? And because I don't want to lose their respect in any way, because I feel like in Schmoeville, for the last 2 years, I've hopefully gained some sort of reputation that is a good one, and I would hate to lose any respect that I've gained in this last 2 years by saying some horrible stuff to anybody in Schmoeville or on the internet in general. So that's always my frame of mind when it comes to anything on the internet, whenever I'm tweeting or on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever.
And that's a healthy one to have for sure. So kudos to you, and hopefully there are people will follow your example. And I also thought it was really interesting to hear what the Joey Beans. I've heard his name thrown around.
Oh yeah, Joey's awesome.
I think I've engaged with him on Twitter a couple times. He's cool. I love the idea that he used to be a troll, because it speaks volumes to who Joey Beans is as a person. The fact that he was like, hey, you know what? This is wrong. And the fact that he reformed and was like, hey, I think you just caught me on a bad day. I'm sorry. Like, a lot of people
He's one of the first guys, whenever I first started watching Schmoes and AMC, which it was obviously back then, now it's Collider. He was one of those guys that every time anybody from the crew tweeted out, you would see him with a response. And I never really saw his troll stuff. I always saw the stuff that was positive, and I didn't even know he was, you know, a troll. Well, we could say, or someone who was a disrespectful person on the
Well, the
interwebs
way I
a while
understood it from
back.
Christian is that it was only like a one-time thing. I don't think it was something that was
Yeah.
consistently happening, but that's how I interpret it from what Christian said anyway.
Yeah, but from what I know about Joey, and this is a great thing, speaking volumes for him, is I don't know him like that. I know him that is a fantastic fan of Schmoes and Collider, and that's all I know him from. And so, I've always had, even whenever I think about who's like, a question that comes to my mind quite a bit is who's some of the biggest Schmoevillians that's out there. So when you think of when you think of Schmoeville, who do you think is one of the top Schmoevillians? And the names that always come to mind are Brian Fernandez, you, just for this podcast, come on, Leanne Lecote, I don't know how they say it.
Lacooter.
She's awesome, and I've talked to her before. And then Joey Beans is always up there, and so it's just great to see how he turned around from being a troll to an awesome Schmoevillian, and that's great.
Exactly, for sure. I want to talk about the fact that it was called a Suicide Squad preview this episode, and they said at the beginning of this segment, and I'm going to touch on this quickly because, you know, I didn't really think this was a Suicide Squad preview. I thought this was more of a review from the people who had already seen the film. So I've seen the movie, so I mean that's fine. It's not like I was worried about spoilers or anything, but I would have loved maybe a conversation about like what the stakes are for DC, what they have going into it, and maybe just maybe just how we feel about Suicide Squad after Batman v Superman. And you know, they spoke briefly on the fact that they had like this different air cut, which is good, but I thought that it should have been it turned out to be more of a review, and I was hoping for more of a discussion about like what the stakes are for this opening. And, you know, they had the guys from the box office there, so that's what they intended to do, I think, but it kind of got away from them, and it was a lot of... I didn't know that Sasha liked the movie so much, so I was glad that at least someone there wasn't hating on it for sure, but I don't know, I just thought it was too much of a review. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, and I like you said, I feel like they weren't going for that, but with all the stuff that people have been talking about with the Rotten Tomatoes score and what people say, some people think it's horrible and some people love it, and I think it got away from them, and because obviously, you know, film fans were passionate about films and also what other people think, and they started getting into what other people think and what this person thinks about thinks about Suicide Squad, and you know, and I know it, you know it from even from the podcasting standpoint. When you feel like you want to talk about something, you have a topic you want to get to or cover or a way you want to talk about something, and it just gets away from you because you start having this conversation about something you're passionate about, and it gets away from you. So I see where you're coming from, and I think that was their goal. But you know, you can't. It's kind of hard to control it when it gets to that point where you're just passionate about something that you love talking about, and you just can't help it when it goes off the rails and into this and that and all this other stuff that you weren't planning on talking about. So, but I do understand where you're coming from.
I know how that is.
To hear.
I had Paul Wolf as a host for a long time, so I know how that is.
Yeah.
One thing about the Rotten Tomatoes thing, though, I really liked seeing Ken be so passionate about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I totally agree that petition is stupid. But the thing about Ken Knapsack is that I like Ken, and I've talked about how much I like him, and I love the news. But I don't know, I'm kind of getting sour on him a little bit. Like, I just feel like he's not contributing, like, and not because he can't. It's just like he doesn't want to now. And I didn't know that was the Ken that we were gonna get. Like, is there an obvious difference in the Ken Knapsack from Phase 6 than there are in the others? I just feel like he's
definitely. I know what you mean, man. I feel the same way, and man, I love Ken. And he used to host this show with Maude Garrett called The Jedi Alliance, and It was on the Popcorn Talk Network when the Schmoes Know Network started. I originally started the fan page for Jedi Alliance because I love to do these fan pages thing. I made Schmoeville and Jedi Alliance really in the same. I think it was the same day because I loved Jedi Alliance and the Ken on that show. And if you go back and watch Phase 3 shows, Ken is much more energized, and they even joked about it tonight. Maybe it's is that old grumpy Ken coming back? And I don't think that's it because he's not that old. I mean, he's not old at all. But I don't know. I got really because Ken used to be one of my favorites. He was like with the news and then everything. And I remember the Mark Hamill interview a while back. He was one of the people he was at the main table. And he was great, and that was one of my favorite Ken episodes. And I used to love Ken. But tonight, when I was watching the show, and they were doing the impression thing, and he said no, I was like, "Oh, Ken, what's up, man? What's up with you?" And I just was really disappointed. And that actually, the same thing that you just asked me about with what you think about Ken now, is. It came into my head as well. I was like, well, what's up with him lately? And it's just disappointing. And I do enjoy the news, but then it's like that's all he does, and then he just kind of sits back and doesn't do anything else, and it's disappointing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So random sudden technical difficulty. Noah got dropped from here, but I think that's a sign that let's just wrap it up. I wanted to mention. Yeah. I wanted to mention Wendy Lee. I would have loved to have gotten more from you, Wendy. I remember the days where you were uncomfortable being on a mic. I'm glad to see you out and about, and please come back to the Schmoes Know Show. I would.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, I would very much like to see more Wendy Lee for sure. And I also missed Makuga's games, so that was a fun game to watch. But
yeah,
Makuga, you have the worst Christopher Walken I have ever heard in my life. And that is coming from someone who is horrible at celebrity impressions. I'm awful at celebrity impressions. But that Christopher Walken is Jesus Christ.
Hey, I didn't think it was that bad. Hey, Makuga, you did great.
Oh, don't encourage him. Oh my goodness. I thought that was awful. Yeah, so let's just wrap it up there. Noah, I appreciate you coming on to the show for the second time. Do you have anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, just go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Outlaw Noah, Instagram Noah the Outlaw, and then also follow the Instagram Schmoeville fan page. It's a lot of fun over there, and it's a great page to follow, and go ahead and check that out, please.
I was going to say, I would hope that the listeners of the Schmoeville podcast were already subscribed to that Facebook page. Exactly. What is this, amateur hour? Come on.
Exactly. And if you're not following Outlaw Noah on Twitter, what are you doing? Come on. What are you doing? Especially if you like Star Wars. If you like Star Wars, follow me up, because that's pretty much all I tweet about. If it's not Schmoes, it's basically all I tweet about.
But guys, don't let Noah follow you back, or he'll DM you about his grocery list.
Exactly. Whole milk, bologna. That's on the list right now.
Yikes. You can follow me on Twitter at FilmBeefSnell. And yeah, I talk about movies. I try to make jokes. I try to be funny. Don't always.
I do that too, but usually I fail. Except for the movies part. I'm pretty good at the movies, but when I try to be funny, it usually does not come off.
I'm in the middle of my plug here. I'm
sorry.
I'm on Twitter at FilmBeefSnell, and you'll find my Instagram and everything right there as well. And check me out on the Film Beef podcast. You can find that podcast anywhere you can listen to a podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, what have you. Film Beef is there for you guys. We do movie reviews and TV recaps. We're loving Mr. Robot right now, so check back in with us every week. And also follow the Film Beef YouTube channel. I put a lot of our podcasts up on the channel just to keep it alive until I was ready to make more videos. I just dropped a Suicide Squad reaction. But, you know, you're followers of the Schmoes, so you probably don't need another YouTube movie reviewer. But that's okay, because I've got your boy Mark Riley on the Film Beef podcast this weekend. He is coming on with me to talk about Suicide Squad. So since you missed Riley's opinion on the movie, during the Schmoes Know Show, then come check it out on Film Beef. I'm very excited to review that with him this weekend, and that's where I will leave you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening to this on the SK Podcast YouTube channel, just know it's also on the Schmoes Know Show podcast feed. And if you're listening to it that way, know it's on the YouTube channel as well. Subscribe to all that goodness. We'll see you later.
Poof.